Hello, today we are going to speak about price structure and price discrimination. The price decision must be based first on the definition of what concept, price hedge, and what metrics are we going to use to charge our customers. So the hedge and the metrics are relevant and must be decided from the very beginning. From another perspective, also there is a good decision to segment the market and according to that to offer different prices for different segments. This is called price discrimination and of course is another element of the price structure. As I have mentioned before, it's relevant to distinguish the concept, why are you charging, and the metric you use to measure that concept. For example, in a Dropbox service, you are charging for storage and the measure is gigabytes. Of course, you can think about another concept to charge for, and this could be speed of synchronization. The bigger the speed, the bigger the price, most likely. If you mix storage and synchronization, you can make a mixture of a lot of different alternatives. This makes your price structure more complex and more difficult to compare against your competitors. In that sense, one source of competitive advantage could be imagining a good, well-aligned with the segment needs, different concepts that makes your price structure more relevant. Of course, a good metrics or a good price structure has several characteristics. First, the metrics, the structure, tracks with differences in value across different segments, in the sense that the concepts and the metrics define correctly the segment needs and the segment behavior characteristics. Also tracks with differences in cost to serve. It's better, if it's possible, sometimes it's impossible, that the metrics are well aligned with the drivers of cost. This is called performance-based pricing. Sometimes it's impossible because you cannot miss this and the last condition in this list. Also, that price structure must be easy to implement and the customer must know what cost has incurred when they are going to pay for your product or service. Also, it's a good characteristic to make difficult the comparison with competitors, as I have expressed before. Finally, and probably the most relevant, the metrics and the structure must align with how customers and buyers experience the value in use. How they experience the value, how they understand the value. In that sense, if the structure expresses that correctly, then your metrics most likely is going to be correct. I have mentioned several times in this video price discrimination or price segmentation. Of course, even well-informed customers value products differently. They have the perception about your product or your service in a different way. They value the characteristics differently. That's why you have this distribution of the willingness to pay showing this kind of differences. Sometimes you can offer a single price for the whole market, but this seems to leave excess money on the table. This is the reason why it appears the idea to offer different prices for different segments. But sometimes that is not that easy. Let's try to understand why this segmentation sometimes is not that easy. And for that idea, we need to define what is a price fence. A price fence, the price fences are the marketing elements that avoid cannibalization and arbitrage. In that sense, the more effective the fence, the better performance of the segmentation strategy and the less cannibalization or arbitrage. But let's define all the concepts involved in this price fences idea more accurately. Firstly, what is imperfect segmentation? Sometimes the best you can do is to create market segments as the average willingness to pay is different in each segment. Really, if you find a beautiful bell-shaped willingness to pay distribution, we are going to study that in next classes, then you have found a perfect segment. oh, this is quite uncommon. In that sense, when you are segmented, that segment never or is very difficult to find that perfect solution. That imperfection makes some distortion when you are segmenting prices for different segments. Then, what is cannibalization? Of course, you understand if you are offering different prices for different segments, there is a powerful motivation for customers in high price segments to find a way to pay lower price. But very connected with this idea of cannibalization is the arbitrage. Really, it's exactly the same, but a third party makes possible the cannibalization. Give me the service of this price cannibalization. So when you find a third party in the middle, then we call that arbitrage. In that sense, price fences must avoid that cannibalization and that arbitrage, because with high cannibalization and arbitrage, all the high-end segments is going to buy at the low price. Finally, we are going to think about what is price discrimination degree. A price discrimination degree is a correlation with the effectiveness of the price fence. The higher the degree, the more effective the price fence. The less cannibalization or arbitrage is going to face if you offer different prices for different segments. In that sense, we can define 3 levels of price discrimination. Price degree or perfect discrimination, second degree or self-selection, third degree or discrimination by customer characteristics. The first degree of discrimination means that a company customizes pricing to each customer equal to the customer's willingness to pay. The way to do that usually is running an auction. If you run an auction, the final buyer is going to be the reservation price, the highest price possible that you are going to find in the willingness to pay distribution. That assures that you have a perfect discrimination without any cannibalization or arbitrage. The second degree price discrimination sometimes is called discrimination by self-selection. Let me explain this with probably the best alternative for this. If you offer different versions of a product, this is called product versioning. In services, this is called tiering, different levels of services for different segments. Then the customers by themselves select what price, what product or service they are going to use. Imagine a smartphone, 16 gigabytes or 32 gigabytes. If you don't need the 32 gigabytes, you are going to self-select yourself to the 16 gigabytes smartphone version. The third degree price discrimination is called price discrimination based on customer characteristics. As you realize, the price fence, the criteria or the marketing elements that we are putting on the table to avoid the cannibalization or arbitrage between different segments is less effective or seems to be less effective, or is more risky if you apply these criteria to divide different segments and apply different prices for these two different segments. The first and probably the best possibility here is choosing the purchase location or distribution channel. Imagine that you are selling a wine bottle in a supermarket or in a convenience store. The distribution channel is selecting the characteristics of the customers and the reason why and the motivation underlying the purchase on one channel or the other channel. In that sense, the characteristics of the customer, the behavior of the customers, buying at the last minute a bottle of wine for a party in a convenience store, or just the common purchase of wine in a supermarket makes the difference. Another example here is time of purchase. Promotion really is based on that time of purchase, and we are going to speak about it in next lessons. Finally, I want to highlight that the price structure on one side, the metrics, the hedges, and the segmentation of your customers, and the criteria to divide that customers and that segments is very relevant and probably is a good beginning for understanding what is a correct price setting policy. Sometimes it's not the beginning, I know, that is the end of the process, because as we have mentioned at the very beginning of these courses, the process usually is not linear. Again, usually is a good beginning, but sometimes is the conclusion. Thank you for attending the lessons. I see you in the next one.